She ran through the airport in a blood-red wedding dress, mascara streaking her face like war paint, and didn't stop until she found the private terminal. What she didn't know was that the man who'd let her board his jet, the quiet pilot with kind eyes who'd asked no questions, was the most powerful vampire king in the Northern Territories, and he'd just decided she was never leaving his protection again. The wedding dress felt like chains, silk and lace and seed pearls, custom fitted to her body by a seamstress who'd pretended not to see the bruises. Maya's hands shook as she gathered the ridiculous train, nearly tripping over yards of fabric as she stumbled through the automatic doors of the airport. Behind her, she could still hear Marcus's voice echoing through the church. "Come back here. You're embarrassing me. You're embarrassing your family." As if she cared. As if anything mattered except getting away. The main terminal was chaos. Families with screaming children, businessmen barking into phones, announcement voices crackling overhead. Too many people. Too many eyes. Someone would recognize her. Someone would call Marcus. Someone would drag her back to that church. Back to a marriage that felt like a slow death sentence. Maya's chest tightened. She couldn't breathe. The dress was too tight. Everything was too tight. She pushed through the crowd, ignoring the stares, ignoring the whispers. Look at her. Is that a bride? Did she just run away from her wedding? How dramatic. The private terminal was quieter. A glass door marked executive aviation, tucked away in a corner most travelers never noticed. Maya didn't have a plan. She just needed space, needed air, needed somewhere to hide until she could think. She slipped through the door. Inside, the world changed. Soft lighting. Leather chairs. A single attendant behind a polished desk, looking up with professional surprise. "Can I help you, miss?" "I need," Maya's voice cracked. She tried again. "I need to leave. Right now. Is there any flight? Any plane going anywhere?" The attendant's eyes traveled from Maya's tear-streaked face to her elaborate dress to the small bag she clutched. Her only possession. Everything else was back at the church, back in Marcus's world. "I'm sorry, miss, but all private charters require advance booking, and..." The woman paused, her expression softening. "Are you in trouble?" Maya's laugh came out broken. "You could say that." The attendant glanced toward a hallway behind her desk. "There's one jet preparing for departure now, but I really shouldn't." "Where does it go?" Maya interrupted. The attendant hesitated. "I don't know. The client keeps his destinations private. He's already cleared for takeoff in 20 minutes. Can you ask him?" Maya heard the desperation in her own voice. "Please. Just ask if he has room for one more passenger. I can pay. I have my cards. I just need to get out of here before." She didn't finish. She didn't need to. The attendant saw something in Maya's face that made her pick up the phone. "Let me check." The wait felt eternal. Maya stood by the window, watching planes take off into the twilight sky, each one carrying people toward futures they'd chosen. Freedom that simple. A phone call. A ticket. A door that closed behind you. "I have someone here," the attendant said quietly into the phone. "She needs emergency transport. Any destination." "Yes, I understand it's unusual, but..." A pause. "Are you certain? That's very generous of you, sir." She hung up and turned to Maya with something like relief. "He says you can board. Gate 3, down that hallway. The jet is ready now." Maya didn't ask questions. Didn't wonder why a stranger would agree to this. Didn't care about anything except the opening door, the escape route appearing like a miracle when she'd stopped believing in those. "Thank you," she whispered, and ran. Her heels clicked against polished floors. The wedding dress billowed behind her like a ghost. Gate 3 opened onto a small tarmac where a sleek black jet waited, stairs already lowered. A figure stood at the base of those stairs. Tall, dark clothes, face shadowed by the angle of the setting sun. Maya slowed, suddenly uncertain. What was she doing? Getting on a stranger's plane? Running away like some damsel in a movie? But then the man stepped forward, and Maya saw his face properly for the first time. He looked young, maybe 30, with dark hair that fell across his forehead and eyes that were gray as storm clouds. Not handsome in a conventional way. His features were too sharp, too angular, almost severe. But there was something in his expression. Gentle. Patient. Safe. "You're the one who needs to leave," he said. It wasn't a question. Maya nodded, not trusting her voice. He gestured to the stairs. "Then come. We don't have much time before they close the airspace for the night." "Who are you?" Maya found herself asking. The man paused, one foot on the bottom step. Someone who understands what it's like to run. He climbed aboard without waiting for her response. Maya followed, gathering her skirts, feeling the cool evening air give way to the warm interior of the jet. It was smaller than she'd expected but beautifully appointed. Cream leather seats, polished wood accents, soft lighting that felt like sanctuary. The man moved to the cockpit with easy familiarity. "You're the pilot?" Maya asked, surprised. The man glanced back. "It's just us. I don't keep a crew for these flights. Prefer the solitude." He settled into the pilot's seat, hands moving over controls with practiced efficiency. "Find a seat. Buckle in. We'll be airborne in 5 minutes." Maya sank into the nearest chair, her legs finally giving out. The adrenaline that had carried her through the airport was fading, leaving exhaustion in its wake. She was shaking, couldn't seem to stop. In the cockpit, the man spoke into a radio, his voice steady and calm, requesting clearance. Tower approved. The engines hummed to life. Through the window, Maya watched the terminal buildings slide away as they taxied toward the runway. She thought about Marcus. By now, he'd have discovered she was gone. Would he be angry? Humiliated? Would he send people after her? The thought made her stomach twist. "This is a mistake," she whispered. "Running away like this. I don't even know where I'm going." The man's voice carried from the cockpit, quiet but clear. "You're going somewhere he can't follow. That's all that matters right now. How do you know it's a he?" A pause. "Because women don't run from happy endings." The jet accelerated. The runway blurred past, and then they were lifting, climbing, the ground falling away like a shed skin. Maya pressed her face to the window, watching the city lights scatter beneath them like fallen stars. Somewhere down there was the church, the guests, the wedding that would never happen, the life she was supposed to want. Up here there was just sky and the steady hum of engines and the strange pilot who'd let her board without demanding explanations. She pulled the veil from her hair, watching it flutter to the floor like a captured ghost. When she looked up, the man was watching her from the cockpit doorway, his gray eyes unreadable. "Thank you," Maya said, "for this. For not asking questions. Everyone deserves one chance to start over," he replied. Then, he returned to the controls, and Maya was left alone with her thoughts and her ruined makeup and her wedding dress and the overwhelming relief of knowing that every second carried her farther from the life she'd almost been trapped in. She didn't know his name. Didn't know where they were going. Didn't know that the man flying this jet was anything other than human. But for the first time in months, Maya felt like she could breathe. That, for now, was enough. The pilot didn't speak again for the first hour. Maya sat in her seat, watching the darkness press against the windows, feeling the jet carry her toward an unknown destination. Below, there was nothing but black. Above, stars scattered across the sky like spilled diamonds. She should feel afraid. Alone on a plane with a stranger, no plan, no destination, just running. But instead, she felt a strange calm settling over. Maybe it was shock. Maybe it was relief. Or maybe it was something about the man in the cockpit. The way he'd looked at her without pity, without judgment. Just acceptance. As if running away in a wedding dress was the most reasonable thing in the world. Maya pulled her phone from her small bag. 17 missed calls from Marcus. 12 from her mother. 8 from her sister, a flood of text messages that she didn't read. She turned the phone off and dropped it back in the bag. Whatever they had to say, she didn't want to hear it. Not tonight. Not ever. "You can take off the dress," the pilot called from the cockpit. His voice startled her. There's a cabin in the back. Clothes in the closet. Nothing fancy, but better than what you're wearing." Maya looked down at herself. The wedding dress seemed even more absurd now, stained at the hem from her run through the airport, wrinkled from sitting. A costume for a play she'd refused to perform. The cabin was small, but elegant. A bed built into the wall, perfectly made with soft gray sheets. A narrow closet. A bathroom with the kind of fixtures that suggested serious money. Maya found the clothes. Men's shirts, mostly. Soft cotton, dark colors. A few pairs of comfortable-looking pants. She chose a black shirt that hung to her knees and rolled up the sleeves. Her reflection in the bathroom mirror looked like a stranger. Makeup smeared, hair tangled. Eyes too wide, pupils still dilated with adrenaline. But underneath the mess, she saw something she hadn't seen in months. Herself, not Marcus's fiancée, not her mother's disappointment, not the perfect bride in the perfect dress marrying the perfect man. Just Maya, scared and lost and free. She washed her face, let her hair down, left the wedding dress in a heap on the cabin floor like a shed skin. When she emerged, the pilot glanced back and did something unexpected. He smiled. "Better? Much better," Maya admitted. She moved to the seat nearest the cockpit, settling in. "Can I ask where we're going?" "North," he said simply. "To my home." "Your home." Maya hesitated. "Is it far?" "Far enough." His hands moved over the controls with easy competence. She watched the way his fingers found each switch, each button, without looking. The confidence of someone who'd flown this route 1,000 times. "How long have you been a pilot?" Maya asked. She wasn't sure why she wanted to fill the silence, only that it felt easier than being alone with her thoughts. "Longer than you'd believe," he said. There was something odd in his tone, not unfriendly, just careful, as if weighing each word. "Do you usually let strangers board your plane?" Maya tried to make it sound light, but she was genuinely curious. "Not usually," he admitted. "But sometimes you see someone who needs help, and you remember what it felt like to need saving." He'd said something similar at the airport. Maya filed it away. Another piece of a puzzle she didn't understand yet. "Have you ever run away?" she found herself asking. The pilot's hands stilled for a moment, then resumed their steady movement. "Yes." "What from?" "My destiny." He said it with such finality that Maya didn't push. They flew in comfortable silence for a while. She watched him work, noticing the small things, the way he corrected course with minimal movement, the way his eyes scanned instruments with perfect precision, the way he seemed completely at peace in this small metal capsule suspended in the darkness. "What's your name?" Maya asked eventually. He glanced back. His gray eyes caught the instrument lights, reflecting them like mirrors. "Does it matter? I'm on your plane. Seems like I should know what to call you." "Fair point." He returned his attention forward. "My name is Nikolai." "Nikolai," Maya repeated. It suited him. Foreign sounding, elegant, strong. "I'm Maya." "I know," Nikolai said quietly. "How?" "The attendant told me." Maya nodded. That made sense. "What else did she tell you?" "Nothing. Just that you needed to leave quickly." Nikolai's voice was gentle. "I didn't ask why. It's not my business." "But," he paused, "if whoever you're running from tries to follow, you should know that where we're going they can't reach you." "How can you promise that?" "Because I own the land we're flying to." "All of it. Hundreds of miles in every direction." Maya blinked. "What?" Nikolai's tone remained casual. "I have resources." Property. Privacy. People who are very good at making sure unwanted visitors stay away. You're serious. Completely. Maya processed this. "Who are you?" "Just someone who understands what it's like to feel trapped," Nikolai said. "And someone who has the means to help." "You don't even know me." "No," he agreed. But I know the look in someone's eyes when they're choosing survival. I saw it in yours. And I remember wearing it in mine. The jet hit turbulence. Maya's hands gripped the armrests instinctively. Nikolai's hands moved smoothly, adjusting course. "It's fine," he said. "Just some rough air. We'll be through it in a moment." But Maya wasn't afraid. Not of the turbulence. She was thinking about what he'd said. About survival. About choosing to run. About the look in her own eyes. "Did you have a wedding dress?" she asked suddenly. Nikolai laughed. It was a surprising sound. Warm and real. "No, but I had something similar. Chains that looked like gifts. A future that was supposed to be an honor. People telling me I should be grateful." Maya's throat tightened. "What did you do?" "I left. Lost everything. Started over. Built something new on my own terms." "Do you regret it?" "Never," Nikolai said with absolute certainty. "Not once." They flew higher. The stars grew brighter. And Maya felt something unfamiliar bloom in her chest. "Hope. You said your name was Nikolai," she said. "What's your last name?" He hesitated. "Does it matter?" "I told you mine," Maya pointed out. "Surname too." "Fair is fair." Another pause. Then quietly, "Volkov. Nikolai Volkov." The name meant nothing to Maya, but something in the way he said it made her think it should have. She stored it away. Another piece of the puzzle. "Thank you," she said. "For letting me board. For not asking questions. For everything." Nikolai glanced back one more time. His gray eyes held something Maya couldn't quite name. Not pity. Not attraction. Something older. Wiser. "Protective. You don't need to thank me," he said. "Just rest. We have another few hours before we land." Maya found a blanket in the cabin and curled up in the seat. Through the windows, the night pressed close. But inside the jet, with the steady hum of engines and Nikolai's quiet presence in the cockpit, Maya felt safer than she had in months. She didn't know where she was going. Didn't know what waited at the end of this flight. But for the first time since Marcus had proposed, since her family had started planning a wedding she'd never wanted, since she'd realized she was trapped, Maya felt like she could breathe without permission. The wedding dress lay abandoned in the cabin. The phone stayed powered off. And somewhere ahead, Nikolai flew them toward a future she couldn't imagine. As her eyes grew heavy, the last thing Maya saw was Nikolai's silhouette against the instrument lights. Steady. Certain. There. A stranger who'd offered sanctuary without demanding anything in return. She slept without nightmares for the first time in months. Maya woke to sunlight streaming through the windows and the subtle shift of the jet descending. She sat up, disoriented for a moment, before memory flooded back. The wedding. The airport. Nikolai. She looked toward the cockpit. He was still there, hand steady on the controls, looking exactly as he had hours ago. As if he hadn't slept at all. "Good morning," he said without turning around. His voice was quiet, respectful of the early hour. "We'll be landing in about 15 minutes. Maya rubbed her eyes. "What time is it?" "Just past dawn." The light shifted as they descended through clouds, and suddenly Maya saw what lay below. Mountains. Vast forests. A landscape so wild and untouched it looked like something from before civilization. And nestled in a valley, surrounded by trees and stone cliffs, was a structure that made her breath catch. It wasn't quite a castle, wasn't quite a modern estate. Something in between, stone walls that looked ancient, but windows that reflected the sunrise like new glass. Towers that reached toward the sky. Gardens that sprawled in geometric precision. It was beautiful. Isolated. Impossible. "That's your home?" Maya asked, pressing her face to the window. Nikolai glanced back, following her gaze. "Yes. That's where you'll be staying. For as long as you need." Maya didn't know what to say. The jet descended toward a private runway carved into the valley floor. The landing was smooth, professional. Nikolai brought them to a stop near a stone building that might have been a hangar. When the engines cut off, the silence felt enormous. Nikolai stood, stretching slightly. His movements were graceful, economical. He was taller than Maya had realized, maybe 6'2" or 6'3". The dark clothes he wore made him look like a shadow given form. "Come," he said. I'll show you to the house. They descended the stairs into cool mountain air. Maya breathed deeply, tasting pine and stone, and something clean that she'd never found in the city. The early light painted everything gold. A vehicle waited nearby. Not a car. Something that looked like it could handle serious terrain. Nikolai drove with the same competence he'd shown flying, navigating a winding road through the forest. Maya watched trees pass by, ancient pines that had probably stood for centuries. Who else lives here? She asked. A few staff, Nikolai said. They maintain the property. But they're discreet. You won't be bothered unless you want company. And you? Where do you live? He gestured ahead. The main house. It's large enough that you'll have your own wing. Complete privacy. That seems like a lot of trust for a stranger, Maya said carefully. Nikolai's expression didn't change. I'm a good judge of character. Besides, you're running from someone. That tells me enough. It tells you I'm a coward, Maya said bitterly. It tells me you're brave enough to choose yourself, Nikolai corrected. That's not cowardice. That's survival. The house was even more impressive up close. Stone walls that looked like they'd grown from the mountain itself, wooden doors carved with intricate patterns, windows that caught the light and threw it back in prisms. Inside, the space was both grand and comfortable. High ceilings with exposed beams, fireplaces large enough to walk into, furniture that managed to be elegant without being cold. But it was the details that caught Maya's attention. Books everywhere, thousands of them, lining walls, stacked on tables, clearly read and loved. Art that ranged from classical paintings to modern sculptures. Instruments, a piano in one room, a violin case in another. This isn't just a house, Maya said slowly. It's a home. Nikolai looked around as if seeing it fresh through her eyes. I've had a long time to fill it with things I care about. Your wing is this way. He led her through corridors and up a stone staircase worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. The rooms he showed her were beautiful. A bedroom with windows overlooking the valley. A private bathroom with a tub carved from a single piece of stone. A sitting room with shelves already stocked with books. Everything you need should be here, Nikolai said. If you want anything else, just ask. There's a kitchen downstairs. Help yourself to whatever you'd like. Staff will prepare meals if you prefer, but you're not obligated. Maya turned to face him. Why are you doing this? Helping me. You don't know anything about me. I could be lying. I could be dangerous. You could be, Nikolai agreed. But you're not. How do you know? Because I've known dangerous people, he said quietly. And you're not one of them. You're just someone who was put in an impossible situation and chose the only option that let you keep your soul. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. She'd been waiting for someone to understand, to not judge her for running, to see that staying would have destroyed her. Thank you, she whispered. Nikolai nodded. Rest. Settle in. When you're ready, come find me. We can talk about what comes next. He left. Closing the door gently behind him, Maya stood in the middle of her new room, overwhelmed by the silence and space and sudden safety. She walked to the window. Below, the valley spread out in shades of green and gold. No city, no cars, no Marcus. Just wilderness and peace, and the impossible generosity of a stranger who'd offered sanctuary without expecting anything in return. Maya showered in the stone tub, washing away the last remnants of yesterday. She found clothes in the closet, simple but well made, in her size. Another mystery. How had Nikolai known? She dressed and explored her wing, found a desk with paper and pens, a bookshelf with titles in multiple languages, a balcony that overlooked the gardens. It was more than refuge. It was paradise. Eventually, hunger drove her downstairs. She found the kitchen easily, following the scent of coffee and bread. Nikolai was there cooking. He'd changed clothes. Now he wore simple dark pants and a loose shirt. His hair was damp, as if he'd also showered. He looked younger in the morning light. But his eyes were still old. I hope you like omelets, he said, not looking up from the pan. I haven't cooked for a guest in years, but some skills you don't forget. Maya sat at the kitchen island. I like anything I don't have to make myself. He smiled and slid a perfect omelet onto a plate, set it before her with fresh bread and fruit and coffee. 8, he said simply. Then we'll talk. The food was good. Better than good. Maya realized she hadn't eaten since yesterday morning. Before the wedding. Before everything fell apart. Nikolai cooked his own breakfast and sat across from her. They ate in comfortable silence until Maya found the courage to ask the question that had been building. Who are you really? Nikolai set down his fork. What do you mean? I mean, she gestured around. This isn't normal. The private jet. This estate. The way you talk like you've lived multiple lifetimes. The fact that you let a stranger in a wedding dress board your plane without even asking why. Who does that? Someone who's been where you are, Nikolai said. Maya shook her head. That's not an answer. No, he admitted. It's not. He stood walking to the window. The morning light caught his profile. Maya noticed for the first time that he cast a very faint shadow. Barely there. As if he wasn't quite solid. I'll tell you the truth, Nikolai said quietly. But first I need you to promise me something. What? That you'll hear the whole story before you panic. And that you'll remember, I haven't hurt you. I won't hurt you. You're safe here. That's a strange thing to promise, Maya said slowly. Her heart rate picked up. Maybe. He turned to face her. His gray eyes caught the light and reflected it back like mirrors, exactly like mirrors. My name is Nikolai Volkov. I'm nearly 300 years old. And I'm a vampire king. The silence stretched between them like pulled wire. Maya stared at Nikolai, waiting for the punchline, for him to laugh and admit it was a joke. But his expression remained serious, patient, waiting for her response. You're serious, she finally said. Nikolai nodded. I am. Maya stood up, took a step back, then another. Her mind raced through everything she'd observed, the faint shadow, the way his eyes caught light, the comment about living longer than she'd believe, the isolated estate surrounded by hundreds of miles of private land. This is insane, she said. I'm having a breakdown. That's what this is. Yesterday's stress finally broke my brain, and now I'm hallucinating. You're not hallucinating, Nikolai said gently. I know it sounds impossible. But I've never lied to you, Maya. I'm not starting now. Vampires aren't real, they're stories. Movies. Myths. Nikolai moved to the window, keeping his distance from her. Giving her space. Most myths have roots in truth, he said quietly. My kind has existed for millennia. We've just gotten very good at hiding. Maya's back hit the wall. Her breathing came fast and shallow. She looked toward the door, calculating escape routes. Where would she even go? Miles of wilderness. No phone. No car. Nowhere to run except back to the life she'd fled. I can hear your heartbeat from here, Nikolai said. His voice was calm, not threatening. You're afraid. That's understandable, but I need you to remember, Maya. I could have hurt you 100 times already if that was my intention. On the plane. While you slept. This morning. I didn't. I won't. Then why tell me? Maya demanded. Why not just let me think you're human? Because you deserve the truth, Nikolai said, and because sooner or later you would have noticed things. The way I don't eat much. Don't sleep. The fact that staff here aren't entirely human either. I'd rather you know now and make an informed choice about staying. Staying, Maya repeated. You think I'd stay here after? After what? After finding out your host isn't human? Nikolai turned to face her fully. After finding out that the person who saved you, who gave you sanctuary, who asked nothing in return happens to be a different species? Yes, Maya. I think you might stay. Because where else will you go? Maya's laugh came out broken. Back to Marcus? Back to a wedding you ran from? Or maybe you'll try to survive alone with no money, no plan, no support? She hated that he was right. hated the calculation already happening in her mind. Vampire or not, Nikolai had helped her, had given her exactly what she needed when she'd needed it most. And if he'd wanted to hurt her, wouldn't he have done it by now? Prove it, Maya said suddenly. What? Prove you're a vampire. Show me. Nikolai hesitated. That's not a good idea. Why not? Because it might frighten you more. I'm already frightened, Maya pointed out. At least if I see proof, I'll know I'm not crazy. Nikolai studied her for a long moment, then sighed. All right. But remember, you asked. He held up his hand. In the morning light it looked normal, pale but solid. Then his nails extended, becoming black claws that caught the light like obsidian. His canines lengthened, sharp and white, and his eyes, those gray eyes, they changed. The irises expanded, becoming reflective, predatory. Not human at all. Maya's breath caught. She pressed harder against the wall. Every instinct screamed danger. Nikolai held perfectly still. When he spoke, his voice hadn't changed. Still gentle. Still patient. I'm still me, Maya. This is just what I look like when I'm not hiding. His form shifted back. The claws retracted. The teeth shortened. The eyes returned to their gray but human appearance. He lowered his hand slowly. See? Same person. Just showing you the truth. Maya's legs felt weak. She slid down the wall until she was sitting on the floor. Nikolai didn't move closer. Didn't approach. Just stood by the window, giving her space to process. This is impossible, Maya whispered. And yet it's true. Why? Maya looked up at him. Why are you helping me? Why let me board your plane? Why bring me to your home? Why reveal what you are? Nikolai moved to lean against the kitchen counter. Not closer, just more comfortable. Because 300 years ago, I was in a situation not unlike yours. I was engaged to someone I didn't love, a political arrangement between vampire families. My marriage would secure alliances, strengthen our position. Everyone told me it was an honor, that I should be grateful. Maya's attention sharpened. What did you do? I refused, Nikolai said. Walked away from my family, my title, everything I'd been raised to inherit. Spent decades being hunted, being told I'd made a mistake, that I should return and fulfill my duty. His expression hardened at the memory. But I didn't. Built my own life, earned my own power. Eventually became strong enough that they had to recognize me on my own terms. As a king in my own right, not through inheritance, but through choice. You understand, Maya said slowly. Why I ran. I understand completely, Nikolai confirmed. And I understand what it's like to feel like you have nowhere to go. To be caught between an impossible situation and an uncertain future. So, when I saw you in that airport, wearing that dress, with that look in your eyes, I saw myself, and I wanted to give you what no one gave me. A safe place to figure out what comes next. Maya pulled her knees to her chest. Her mind spun with impossible information. Vampires. Kings. Centuries-old trauma that somehow mirrored her own. Are there others? She asked. Other vampires? Many, Nikolai said. My kind exists all over the world. Some integrated into human society, others living separately. It varies, the staff here. Some of them are human. Some aren't. But all of them understand the need for privacy and discretion. Are you going to? Maya hesitated. Drink my blood? Nikolai's expression turned pained. No, Maya. I don't feed from unwilling people. Ever. There are donors who provide blood voluntarily in exchange for protection or payment, and I can survive on animal blood if necessary. You're not prey. You're a guest. A guest, Maya repeated, in a vampire's castle. When you put it like that, it sounds like a horror movie, Nikolai said with a slight smile. But yes, essentially. They stared at each other across the kitchen. Morning light painted the floor in golden squares. Outside, birds sang, oblivious to the impossible conversation happening inside. I need time, Maya said finally. To process this. To think. Take all the time you need. Nikolai replied. Your room is yours. The house is yours. I won't bother you unless you seek me out. And if I want to leave? Then I'll fly you anywhere you want to go, Nikolai said simply. You're not a prisoner, Maya. You never were. Maya nodded slowly. She stood on shaking legs, walked toward the door, paused. Nikolai. He looked at her. Thank you for the truth and for everything else. His expression softened. You're welcome. Maya returned to her wing, locked the door, sat on the bed, and tried to reconcile the impossible truth with everything she'd experienced. The kind pilot who'd let her board, the generous host who'd given her sanctuary, the ancient being who'd shared his own trauma to help her understand. Vampire. The word felt absurd, but so did everything about the last 24 hours. Running from her wedding, boarding a stranger's plane, flying to an isolated estate, finding safety with someone who understood. Maybe impossible was just her new normal. Maya spent 3 days in her wing. Staff brought meals, leaving trays outside her door. She ate, slept, read books from the shelves, stared out the window at the impossible beauty of the valley, processed. On the 4th morning she ventured out. The house was quiet in the early dawn. She wandered through corridors, discovering rooms. A library that spanned 3 floors, a conservatory filled with plants that shouldn't survive at this altitude. A music room where someone had recently played the piano, sheet music still open on the stand. She found Nikolai in the garden. He was tending roses, wearing simple clothes with dirt on his hands. He looked more human than ever. More real. Good morning, he said without turning around. How did you know I was here? Heard your footsteps, Nikolai said. And your heartbeat. It's distinctive. Maya walked closer. Vampire senses? Among other things, he pruned a rose with careful precision. Sleep well? Better than I have in months, Maya admitted. That's good. Nikolai set down his shears and finally looked at her. Questions? So many, Maya said. Where do I start? Start anywhere. We have time. Do you really not sleep? I can, Nikolai said, but I don't need to like humans do. A few hours every week is sufficient. The food you cooked. Can you eat it? Yes. It doesn't nourish me, but I enjoy the taste. The ritual. The normalcy. Sunlight? Myths exaggerate, Nikolai smiled. It's uncomfortable. Makes me weak if I'm exposed too long, but I won't burst into flames. Silver? Allergic. Hurts like hell but not fatal. Garlic? He laughed. That one's completely made up. I love garlic. Maya found herself smiling despite everything. Stake through the heart? Would kill me, Nikolai confirmed. But it would kill anyone. I'm hard to kill but not impossible. How old are you really? 287, Nikolai said. Give or take a few years. Record keeping was imprecise when I was born. What was it like? Being alive that long? Nikolai considered the question. Lonely, sometimes. Watching humans age and die while you stay the same. Beautiful, other times. Seeing the world change. Learning languages. Experiencing things that would be impossible in a single human lifetime. Complicated. Always. Maya sat on a stone bench. The morning air was cool and clean. She watched Nikolai work, his movements practiced and precise. Why roses? She asked. My mother loved them, Nikolai said quietly. She had gardens like this when I was young. Before I left, I promised her I'd always keep roses. It's one of the few promises I've kept. Maya heard the grief in his voice. Is she? Gone? Yes. A long time ago. Even vampires don't live forever. Eventually something claims us. Accident. War. Heartbreak. Some just grow tired and let themselves fade. I'm sorry. Nikolai shrugged. It was 200 years ago. The grief changes, but it never fully leaves. He set down his tools and sat beside her. Your turn. How are you really doing? Confused, Maya admitted. Scared. Relieved. Grateful. Angry at myself for being grateful. It's a lot. That's understandable. I upended your understanding of reality. That's not a small thing. Maya pulled her knees up, wrapping her arms around them. Back in the city, Marcus will be looking for me. My family, too. I left my phone off, but they'll find ways. Trace my credit cards. Call friends. Maybe even hire people. Do you want to be found? Nikolai asked gently. No, Maya said immediately, then shook her head. I don't know. Part of me wants to go back and explain, make them understand why I couldn't go through with it. But another part knows they wouldn't listen. They'd just try to convince me I made a mistake. What does your gut tell you? That I made the only choice I could, Maya said. That staying would have killed something essential in me. That even though I'm scared and lost and sitting in a vampire's garden talking about impossible things, I'm more myself than I've been in years. Then trust that, Nikolai said. The rest will follow. They sat in comfortable silence. The sun rose higher, painting the garden in gold. Maya noticed how Nikolai shifted slightly into shadow, avoiding direct light without making it obvious. Can I ask you something? She said. Always. Why haven't you married again? After you refused the first arrangement? Nikolai's expression clouded, because I learned that vampire marriages are rarely about love. They're about power. Alliances. Bloodlines. After I built my own position, other families tried to arrange matches, sent their daughters, made offers. But I'd already seen what that life looked like, already paid the price for refusing it. I wasn't interested in repeating the pattern. So, you've been alone for 300 years? Not alone, Nikolai corrected. I have friends, allies, people I trust. But romantically? Yes. I've been alone. By choice. Don't you get lonely? All the time, he admitted. But loneliness is better than being trapped in a relationship that slowly destroys you. Maya understood that more than she wanted to admit. She thought about Marcus, about the way he'd slowly taken over her life. Small decisions at first. What she wore, who she spent time with, where they went. Until one day she'd realized she couldn't remember the last time she'd made a choice for herself. The wedding was just the final prison door closing. Running was the only key she had. I don't know what to do next, she confessed. I can't go back. But I don't have a plan forward. Then stay here while you figure it out, Nikolai said. You're not a burden, Maya. You're not an obligation. You're just someone who needs time and space. I have both in abundance. What do you get out of this? Maya asked. Why help me? Nikolai looked at her directly. Because 300 years ago, no one helped me. I survived, but barely. And I promised myself that if I ever saw someone in a similar situation, I'd do what no one did for me. Give them options. Safety. Time. He stood, brushing dirt from his hands. Besides, it's nice having someone here who sees me as Nikolai first and vampire second. Most people, once they know, can't see past the monster. I don't think you're a monster, Maya said. You showed me what you are. You could have lied, could have kept pretending, but you gave me the truth and let me choose what to do with it. That's not monstrous, that's honest. Nikolai's expression softened. Thank you. For what? For staying, he said simply. After you knew. Most humans would have run. I already ran once this week, Maya said with a small smile. I'm tired of running. Then rest, Nikolai replied. Walk the gardens, read, think. There's no pressure here. No expectation, just space. He left her alone with the roses in the morning light. Maya stayed on the bench, breathing the cool air, feeling the tension in her chest slowly unwind. For the first time since Marcus proposed, she felt like she had room to think. Room to breathe. Room to figure out who she was when no one was telling her who to be. A vampire's sanctuary. The phrase was absurd. Impossible. Real. Maya laughed quietly to herself. Yesterday she was supposed to be married. Today she was sitting in a garden, being tended by a 287-year-old vampire who understood heartbreak and roses and the courage it took to choose yourself over duty. Life was strange. But for the first time in years, it was hers. The next week passed in strange domesticity. Maya explored the estate, discovering its secrets. A greenhouse where night-blooming flowers opened under artificial moonlight. A studio where someone painted centuries-old landscapes. A weapons room that made her pause, seeing swords and armor displayed like museum pieces. Nikolai gave her space but never disappeared completely. She'd find him reading in the library, practicing violin in the music room, working at a desk covered in papers written in languages she didn't recognize. They developed an easy rhythm. Breakfast together, when he'd cook and she'd watch, learning the small rituals of his strange life. Afternoons apart, each pursuing their own interests. Evenings on the terrace, watching the sun set over the mountains. "Tell me something real," Maya asked one evening. They sat with tea, watching the sky turn purple. "About you. Before vampirism. Before running. Something from when you were just human." Nikolai set down his cup. "I wanted to be a scholar," he said. "That surprises you?" "A little," Maya admitted. "You seem more." She gestured vaguely. "Warrior. I learned to be a warrior because I had to," Nikolai said. "But when I was young, before duty and bloodlines and all that weight, I wanted to study. Languages. History. Philosophy. I'd sneak into the library when I was supposed to be training and read until they dragged me out." "What happened?" "Life happened," Nikolai said simply. "Expectations. Responsibilities, the marriage arrangement that would secure my family's position. I was told that what I wanted didn't matter, that I had obligations. So, I tried to fit the role they'd chosen. Until I couldn't anymore." "Why couldn't you?" "Because one day I realized I'd become someone I didn't recognize," Nikolai said quietly. "I looked in the mirror and saw a stranger wearing my face, going through motions, speaking words I didn't believe. And I thought, is this what the next century looks like? The next 2 centuries? Existing but not living? That's when you left. That's when I left." His eyes were distant, remembering. "I thought it would be easier, that I'd walk away and feel immediate relief. But freedom was terrifying. I had no plan, no resources, no idea how to survive outside the structure I'd always known." "How did you manage?" "I made mistakes," Nikolai admitted. "Many of them. Trusted wrong people. Ended up in dangerous situations. Nearly died more than once. But slowly, I learned. Found allies. Built skills. Discovered that I was capable of things I'd never imagined when I was just following orders. And eventually, I stopped looking back." Maya absorbed this. "It's scary," she said, "not knowing what comes next. Terrifying," Nikolai agreed, "but also exhilarating once you get past the fear. You get to choose. Every day. What you do. Who you become. No script, no expectations except the ones you set for yourself. Is that why you live out here? Away from everything?" "Partly," Nikolai said. "I got tired of vampire politics. The games. The alliances. The constant maneuvering for position. Out here I can just be. Read. Think. Tend gardens. Sounds lonely." "It was," Nikolai admitted. "Until recently." Maya felt her cheeks warm. She looked away toward the darkening mountains. In the valley below, lights began appearing. The estate, she realized. Staff quarters. Other buildings she hadn't explored. "How many people live here?" "About 20, Nikolai said. Some human, some vampire, some other things." "Other things? There are more than just vampires?" "Much more," Nikolai said. "The world is stranger than humans realize." Werewolves. Witches. Fae. Demons. Angels, all existing in shadows, hiding in plain sight. Why? Because humans don't react well to things they don't understand, Nikolai said gently. Fear breeds violence. So, we hide. Maintain the veil. Let humanity believe they're alone in the universe. It's safer for everyone. Maya processed this. Every fairy tale is real. Most of them, Nikolai confirmed. Though the details are usually wrong. Vampires don't sparkle. Werewolves aren't slaves to the moon. Witches don't have green skin. But the core truth? That there are beings beyond human understanding sharing this world? That part's accurate. Maya laughed, slightly hysterical. A week ago I was worried about seating charts. Now I'm learning that everything I thought was fiction is real. Nikolai smiled. Quite a shift in perspective. How do you handle it? Maya asked. Knowing all this, existing in a world where everyone around you is pretending magic doesn't exist? You get used to it, Nikolai said. After a few centuries, you develop patience, learn to move through the human world without drawing attention. Appreciate the small moments where you can be honest. Like now? Like now, he confirmed. Maya met his eyes. The gray had become familiar, comforting even. She no longer saw predator, just Nikolai, patient, kind, lonely. Thank you, she said, for trusting me with the truth. For all of this. You've said that before, Nikolai observed. I know, but I keep meaning it more. He reached over and gently squeezed her hand. It was the first time he'd touched her since the airport. His skin was cool, but not cold. His grip careful, as if afraid of breaking something fragile. You're stronger than you think, Maya, he said quietly. What makes you say that? Because you're still here, Nikolai replied. Still processing, still choosing yourself even when it would be easier to go back. That takes courage. I don't feel courageous. No one ever does, Nikolai said. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite it. They sat in comfortable silence as stars emerged overhead. Maya felt something shift inside her. The constant anxiety that had been her companion for months was finally, slowly, beginning to ease. Here in this impossible place, with this impossible man, she was starting to remember what peace felt like. Nikolai, she said softly. Yes? If I stay. Not forever, but for a while. While I figure things out, would that be okay? It would be more than okay, he replied. But Maya, what? Make sure you're staying because you want to, not because you feel you owe me, or because you're afraid of what waits outside these mountains. Make sure you're choosing this, not just running from something else. Maya considered this. You're right. But also, I think I can do both. Run from one thing and toward another. Run from Marcus and toward myself. Does that make sense? Complete sense, Nikolai said. Then yes, Maya decided. I want to stay. For a while. Until I figure out who I am when no one's watching. Nikolai smiled. It was genuine and warm and made him look younger. Almost human. Welcome home then. It's not my home, Maya protested. It could be, Nikolai said. If you want it to be. They stayed on the terrace until the moon rose, talking about small things and large ones, about the strangeness of fate that had brought a runaway bride to a vampire's sanctuary. And Maya realized something. For the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid of silence, wasn't afraid of being alone with her thoughts. Because here, she wasn't alone. She was seen, understood, safe. It was a beginning, fragile and new, but real. 3 weeks after her arrival, the phone call came. Maya was in the library when Nikolai found her, his expression carefully neutral. There's someone trying to reach you, he said. Your sister. She found one of my business lines. Claims it's urgent. Maya's heart clenched. I don't want to talk to her. You don't have to, Nikolai said. But I thought you should know. They're persistent. Maybe hearing your voice, knowing you're alive, would stop the searching. Or it might give them a location to track, Maya countered. Nikolai shook his head. I've made sure the line is untraceable. If you call back, they'll hear you, but won't be able to find you. Unless you want them to. Maya stood, walked to the window. Below, the valley spread in afternoon light. Her sanctuary. Her escape, but also, maybe, her prison if she never faced what she'd left behind. I'll call, she decided. But only if you're there. I'm not doing this alone. Nikolai nodded. The study. 20 minutes. Maya used the time to prepare. Changed into comfortable clothes. Brushed her hair. Tried to steady her breathing. When she entered the study, Nikolai had the phone ready. Speakerphone, he mouthed. So I can hear if you need backup. Maya nodded gratefully and dialed. Her sister answered on the first ring. Maya? Oh my God, Maya. Are you okay? Everyone's been looking for you. We thought. We didn't know if. Are you hurt? I'm fine, Sarah, Maya said. Her voice was steadier than she expected. I'm safe. Safe? You disappeared from your wedding. Marcus is devastated. Mom's having a breakdown. Where are you? I'm somewhere Marcus can't find me, Maya said carefully. And I'm staying here. That's all you need to know. Maya, this is insane. You can't just run away from your life. I didn't run from my life, Maya corrected. I ran from a marriage that would have destroyed me. There's a difference. Marcus loves you. No, he doesn't, Maya interrupted. He loves controlling me. There's a difference there, too. Her sister's voice sharpened. So, this is what? You're going to hide forever? Throw away everything because you got cold feet? It wasn't cold feet, Sarah. Maya's hands clenched. I was suffocating. Every choice I made, he had an opinion. Every friend I had, he found reasons to keep me from them. Every dream I had, he explained why it was impractical. I was disappearing, becoming someone I didn't recognize. And the wedding was just the final step in erasing me completely. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, Maya said. But I'm done pretending to be happy when I'm miserable just to make other people comfortable. Nikolai leaned against the desk, silently supportive. His presence gave Maya strength to continue. I'm sorry I left the way I did, Maya said more gently. I'm sorry I embarrassed everyone. But I'm not sorry I left. And I'm not coming back. Mom wants to talk to you, Sarah tried. I don't want to hear it, Maya cut her off. She'll just try to guilt me into returning. Tell me how much money they spent on the wedding. How disappointed everyone is. How I've ruined my reputation. I've heard it all before. This is about more than reputation, Sarah said quietly. Marcus is. He's been calling constantly, showing up at the house. He seems angry. Maya's blood ran cold. Has he threatened anyone? Not outright. But Maya, he's not handling this well. I think you should know. He's hired people to find you. Good luck to them, Maya said, glancing at Nikolai. Where I am, they can't reach me. How can you be so sure? Because the person protecting me is very powerful, Maya said, and very serious about my safety. Who is this person? Sarah's voice filled with suspicion. Are you in trouble? Did someone take you? I left willingly, Maya assured. I'm staying willingly. And the person I'm with. She paused, choosing words carefully. He understands what it's like to walk away from everything. He's giving me space to figure out who I am. It's a he, Sarah pounced. You left Marcus for another man? I left Marcus for myself, Maya corrected firmly. The fact that someone helped me escape doesn't mean. She stopped. There was no point explaining. Sarah wouldn't understand. No one would. Look, Maya continued. I called to let you know I'm alive and safe. That's all. I'm not coming back. I'm not getting back together with Marcus, and I'm not telling you where I am. Please stop looking. Just let me go. You're my sister, Sarah said, and Maya heard tears in her voice. I'm worried about you. I know, Maya said softly. But I promise, I'm okay. Maybe for the first time in years I'm actually okay. There was a long silence. Then Sarah said quietly, He really hurt you, didn't he? Marcus. Not physically, Maya admitted. But yes, he hurt me in ways that don't leave visible scars. I'm sorry I didn't see it, Sarah whispered. I thought. We all thought you were happy. I was very good at pretending, Maya said. She felt tears prick her own eyes. But I'm done pretending now. Will you call again? Sarah asked. Let me know you're okay. Eventually, Maya promised. When I'm ready. But Sarah, please don't tell Marcus you spoke to me. Don't give him anything he can use to find me. Promise me. Sarah hesitated. Then, okay. I promise. Thank you. Maya ended the call before her resolve could crack. She set the phone down with shaking hands and turned to Nikolai. He straightened immediately. You did well, he said gently. That couldn't have been easy. It wasn't, Maya admitted, but it needed to happen. Nikolai crossed to a cabinet and poured amber liquid into 2 glasses, offered one to Maya. What is it? Whiskey. Older than your country. Drink it slowly. They sat by the fire. Maya sipped the whiskey, feeling warmth spread through her chest. Nikolai watched her with concern. Sarah said Marcus hired people to find me. Maya said quietly. Are you worried? Should I be? Nikolai's expression was calm. I've dealt with hired investigators before. This estate is protected by more than just distance. There are wards, spells, guards who don't show up on any records, and I have resources that Marcus, wealthy as he might be, cannot match. What kind of resources? The kind that comes with being very old and very connected, Nikolai said. If anyone gets close, I'll know, and I'll handle it. Maya believed him. There was something in his tone. Not arrogance. Certainty. The confidence of someone who'd survived 300 years of threats. Do you think he'll give up? Maya asked. Eventually, Nikolai said. Men like Marcus, they're used to controlling things. Right now you're a problem he thinks he can solve. But when enough time passes with no results, he'll move on. Find someone else to control. The thought should have been comforting. Instead, Maya felt a pang of something like grief. She'd spent 3 years with Marcus. There had been good moments, before the control started. Before everything changed. I loved him once, she said quietly. I think. Or maybe I just loved the person I thought he was. Before I realized, he only loved the version of me he could control. It's possible to mourn what might have been, Nikolai said. Even when you know leaving was right. Maya looked at him. Have you ever loved anyone? Romantically? Once, Nikolai admitted. A long time ago. What happened? She was human, he said simply. I was young as vampires go, still learning what immortality meant. We had 10 years together. Then she aged, and I didn't. And one day she looked at me and said she couldn't spend her life watching me stay frozen while she grew old. So, she left. Did you try to turn her, make her like you? She didn't want that, Nikolai said. And I respected her choice, even though it hurt. Even though I would have given anything for more time. I let her go. Because that's what you do when you love someone. You let them choose their own path. Even when it breaks your heart. The grief in his voice was old, but not faded. Maya understood suddenly that loneliness wasn't just Nikolai's choice. It was also his penance, his way of honoring someone who'd chosen mortality over eternity with him. I'm sorry, she said. Don't be, Nikolai replied. I had 10 beautiful years with someone who saw me. Really saw me. Not the vampire. Not the power. Just me. That's more than most people get in a lifetime. They finished their whiskey in comfortable silence. Outside, night fell over the mountains, and Maya felt something settle in her chest. She'd made the call. Faced her past. And the world hadn't ended. She was still here. Still safe. Still choosing herself. It was enough. For now, it was more than enough. 2 months after her arrival, Maya woke to find the estate transformed. Overnight, the first snow had fallen, covering everything in white silence. She stood at her window, watching the valley below turn into something from a fairy tale. Beautiful and cold and perfect. She found Nikolai in the music room, playing violin. The piece was old, melancholy, something that spoke of loss and time and memories too heavy to carry. He didn't stop when she entered, just kept playing, letting the music say what words couldn't. When the final note faded, he lowered the bow. Good morning. Morning, Maya said. She'd stopped adding good weeks ago. Some mornings were. Some weren't. Nikolai never seemed to mind the honesty. What are you playing? Something I wrote, he admitted. Long time ago. When? After she left. The human woman. Maya's heart ached for him. Can you play it again? Nikolai looked surprised but nodded. This time Maya closed her eyes and listened, really listened, and she heard it all. The love, the grief, the acceptance, the impossibility of holding on to something that was meant to change while you stayed the same. When he finished, tears ran down her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered, "for all the loss you carry." "We all carry loss," Nikolai said gently, setting down the violin. "The trick is not letting it define us." "Is that why you help people?" Maya asked. "Like you helped me?" "Maybe," he admitted. "If I can't have my own happy ending, at least I can help others find theirs." "That's not fair," Maya said. "You deserve happiness too." "Happiness looks different after 300 years, Nikolai said. "It's not about romance anymore, or adventure, or any of the things I chased when I was young. Now it's quieter. Books, music, gardens, watching snow fall. Sharing breakfast with someone who doesn't see me as a monster. That's happiness. Is it enough?" "Most days," Nikolai said. Then added quietly, "But not all days." Maya moved to the window. The snow continued falling, each flake unique and temporary and beautiful in its brief existence. "I think I understand now," she said. "Why you live out here. Away from everything. It's not just about escaping vampire politics. It's about protecting yourself. From attachment. From loss. From the pain of watching everyone you care about leave." Nikolai didn't respond immediately. Then, "Yes, that's part of it. But Maya, there's a difference between protecting yourself and isolating yourself. I learned that too late." Maya turned to face him. "What do you mean?" "I mean that safety isn't the same as living," Nikolai said. "I spent 2 centuries building walls, keeping people at a distance, telling myself it was wisdom when really it was fear, and I was. Empty, functional but hollow, until you got on my plane, and reminded me what it felt like to care whether someone was safe, to worry, to hope, to matter to another person." "You matter to me," Maya said softly. "I know," Nikolai replied. "That terrifies me." "Why?" "Because everyone I've let matter has left," Nikolai said simply. "By choice, or by death, or by time. They all leave eventually. And I'm still here, still going, still carrying all those losses. But also," Maya pointed out, "still capable of playing music that beautiful, still growing roses, still offering strangers sanctuary. Those losses didn't destroy you, Nikolai. They shaped you into someone who understands pain, who recognizes it in others, who does something about it. That's not emptiness. That's depth." Nikolai's expression cracked slightly. "You're very wise for someone who just turned." "What are you? 23? 24, Maya said. "And I'm not wise. I just recognize a kindred spirit when I see one. Someone who's been hurt and decided the world didn't get to make them cruel. They stood on opposite sides of the room, the music's echo still hanging in the air, snow falling outside, something unspoken building between them." "Nikolai," Maya began. "Don't," he said gently. "I know what you're going to say." "And Maya, I can't." "Why not?" "Because you're healing," Nikolai said. "You're processing trauma. You're learning who you are outside of someone else's expectations. The last thing you need is to trade one attachment for another." "What if I'm not trading?" Maya challenged. "What if I'm just seeing you, the way you saw me, as someone who deserves not to be alone?" "We're very different, Maya," Nikolai said. "I'm immortal. You're human. In 50 years you'll be old. I'll look exactly like this. In 100 years you'll be gone, and I'll still be here. Starting something. It's not fair to you." "Maybe I don't care about fair," Maya said. "Maybe I care about now. About the person who saved me, who gave me space to heal, who plays violin and tends roses, and carries 300 years of grief with grace. Maybe I care about him." Nikolai closed his eyes. "Maya, you're not responsible for my loneliness. I'm not trying to fix you," Maya said, moving closer. "I'm just saying, you don't have to carry everything alone. Not anymore. If you want, if you're willing to risk it, I'm here." Nikolai opened his eyes. They were bright with unshed tears. "You should go back to bed," he said roughly. "It's early. You need rest." "That's not an answer." It's the only answer I can give right now, Nikolai said. Please, Maya. Don't make this harder. Maya wanted to push. Wanted to cross the room and take his hands and make him see, but she recognized the fear in his expression. The walls going up. The retreat. So instead, she nodded. Okay. But Nikolai? What? I'm not going anywhere. Not for a long time. You don't have to decide anything now. Just know that I see you. Really see you. And I'm not afraid of what I see. She left before he could respond, returned to her wing, sat by her window watching snow fall and thinking about a vampire who'd forgotten how to let people in. And about herself, a human who'd just learned how to let people see her. The impossibility of timing, of species, of lifetimes that didn't match. But also, the possibility, if they were brave enough to try. The snow fell heavier. The world turned white. And somewhere in the estate, Nikolai played violin. The same morning song. But maybe, Maya thought, maybe this time it was asking a question instead of stating a fact. Maybe this time it was wondering if grief could coexist with hope. She'd give him time. But she wouldn't give up. Because 300 years of loneliness was long enough, and 2 months of safety had taught her something Marcus never understood. Love wasn't about possession. It was about seeing someone clearly, and choosing them anyway, even when it was complicated, even when forever looked different for each of you, especially then. Spring came slowly to the mountains. Snow melted into streams. Gardens erupted with color, and Maya discovered she'd been at the estate for 6 months. Half a year of healing. Learning. Becoming. Nikolai had kept his distance after that morning in the music room. Not cold. Just careful. They still shared breakfast, still talked on the terrace, but something had shifted. Awareness. An acknowledgement of what they weren't saying. Until the evening Maya found him in the library, surrounded by papers written in old script. He looked up when she entered, his expression unguarded for once. I've been thinking, he said, about what you said, about not being alone, about, and he hesitated, about the possibility of more. Maya's heart raced. And I'm terrified, Nikolai admitted. Of losing you. Of watching you age while I stay the same, of caring and losing and surviving when I'm not sure I want to survive anymore. But also, Maya prompted gently. But also, Nikolai continued, these 6 months with you here. Knowing you're safe under my roof. Sharing meals and conversations in silence. It's been the first time in decades that I've felt, and he struggled with the word. Content. Not just existing. Living. So, what does that mean? Maya asked. It means, Nikolai said slowly, if you're willing. If you understand what you'd be choosing, a relationship that defies logic, that will be complicated and sometimes painful and never simple. Then, I'm willing to try. Not to fix my loneliness with your presence, but to share my life with someone who somehow understands it. Maya crossed the room, took his hands. They were cool and familiar and solid. I understand, she said. I'm choosing eyes open. Knowing what we are. What we're not. Knowing the future is uncertain. But Nikolai, these 6 months, you've given me my life back. Let me give you something too. Company, partnership, someone who stays. Nikolai pulled her close. His embrace was careful, as if she might break, but also certain, as if he'd finally decided the risk was worth it. I can't promise forever, he whispered against her hair. But I can promise now. Now is enough, Maya replied. Now is everything. They stayed like that as evening turned to night. 2 people who'd run from impossible situations finding something possible together. Not perfect. Not simple. Not guaranteed. But real. Outside the gardens bloomed. Inside something long frozen began to thaw. And in the mountains, far from the life Maya had fled and the centuries Nikolai had survived alone, Two impossibly different hearts found an improbable rhythm. The vampire king who'd offered sanctuary learned to receive it. The runaway bride who'd sought freedom learned to choose commitment on her own terms. It wasn't the ending either had imagined, but it was theirs. And sometimes, Maya thought as Nikolai held her close and the stars emerged overhead, sometimes the best stories are the ones you never saw coming. The ones that start with escape and end with choosing to stay. Not from fear or obligation, but from something simpler and more revolutionary. Love that saw clearly and chose anyway. Forever looked different now. But different didn't mean less. It meant exactly what they'd make it. One day. One choice. One shared breath at a time. And for now, standing in a library full of centuries of accumulated wisdom with a man who'd lived long enough to know the value of a single moment, Maya was home. Finally. Completely. Home.